That day, the silence of the Altai Mountains was shattered not by thunder, not by a rock slide. It was a scream that made your blood run cold. From 1,000 feet above, wings folded in a deadly dive, retribution was plummeting toward the earth. Many believe that in the remote wilderness their sins will go unnoticed, but these cliffs have eyes that never forgive and never forget. Today, you'll hear a story of incredible loyalty that began with one destroyed nest and ended in a battle to the death. Watch until the end, because this story's finale will change everything you thought you knew about the wild. 10-year-old Timur was no ordinary city kid. His playground was the endless slopes of the Altai, and his teachers were his grandfather and the harsh mountain wind. Grandpa often said, "The mountains don't forgive weakness, Timur, but they respect a pure heart." One day, after a violent storm had torn through the canyon, ripping ancient cedars out by their roots, Timur went to check on the flock. Among the jagged rocks, he noticed something strange. It was a destroyed golden eagle's nest. On the ground, pinned beneath a heavy branch, lay a young eagle. His golden eyes, usually full of pride, were now clouded with pain. One wing was twisted at a terrible angle. The bird didn't even try to escape. He was simply waiting for the end. Any other shepherd would have said, "That's the law of nature, survival of the fittest." But Timur saw in the predator's eyes not just an animal. He saw a living soul. The boy took off his jacket, covered the bird, feeling a tiny heart pounding frantically beneath the fabric, and carried him to the cabin. Grandpa met his grandson with a stern look. "An eagle isn't a dog, Timur. He won't wag his tail. He knows only strength and freedom. You'll only prolong his suffering." But the boy wouldn't budge. He named the bird Akbars, a name meaning snow leopard in the local tongue, just as rare and just as proud. The next 2 months became a true test of will. For the first few weeks, Akbars refused food. He tried to strike Timur with his beak every time the boy approached with bandages. Timur sat beside him for hours, just talking, getting him used to his voice. He caught fish for him in ice-cold mountain streams, even as his fingers went numb from the cold. Gradually, the ice melted. First, the bird stopped attacking. Then he allowed the bandages to be changed. And one day, when Timur held out his hand with a piece of meat, Akbars didn't just take the food. For a moment, he pressed his head against the boy's palm. It was an agreement, an unspoken oath between a human and a lord of the skies. When the wing finally healed, the hardest decision of Timur's life arrived. Akbars couldn't stay in the cabin. His home was the sky. On the edge of a cliff, the boy looked one last time into his friend's golden eyes. "Fly," he whispered, tossing the bird upward. A powerful beat of wings, the whistle of wind, and Akbars became a tiny speck in the clouds. Timur cried, certain he would never see him again. But he was wrong. Akbars didn't leave. He stayed in those mountains, becoming a shadow that always followed the flock. 6 months passed. An uneasy silence settled over the mountains, and with it came the rumble of engines, a sound that meant nothing good. A gang of poachers in rugged off-road vehicles was hunting for something worth more than gold on the black market: snow leopard pelts. Timur was searching for a stray sheep when he stumbled upon their camp, hidden in a deep ravine. What he saw made his heart clench: steel traps, cages, and men with cold, indifferent eyes. The boy tried to slip away unnoticed, but a branch snapped treacherously beneath his foot. "Hold it right there, runt!" one of the men barked, grabbing Timur by the scruff of his neck. The poachers exchanged glances. They understood. If the boy told the rangers, they'd end up in prison. The group's leader, a man with a deep scar across his cheek, hissed, "Tie him up. We'll take him over the pass and figure out what to do with him there. Things happen in the wilderness. Wolves, cliffs. No one will ever find him." Timur was thrown into the bed of a pickup truck, his hands bound with coarse rope. The vehicle started down a narrow, treacherous switchback. On one side, a sheer rock face. On the other, a drop of over 1,000 feet. The boy screamed, but his voice was swallowed by the roar of the engine. It seemed there was no hope of rescue. Then suddenly the sun went dark. The driver of the lead vehicle looked up and screamed in terror. From above, plummeting at over 125 miles per hour, something enormous was falling. It was Akbar's. He wasn't just flying, he was attacking. With a deafening shriek, he slammed his powerful talons into the windshield of the lead vehicle. The glass exploded into 1,000 shards. The driver, blinded by fear and bleeding from the cuts, slammed on the brakes. The truck skidded and ended up sideways across the road, blocking the others. The poachers leaped from their cabs, grabbing for their rifles, but Akbar's was faster than any bullet. He moved like a perfect machine. Dive, strike with a wing, instant ascent. He aimed for faces, for hands, knocking weapons away. This was the pure, unbridled fury of nature. In the chaos, as the criminals fought off the demon from the sky, the tailgate of the pickup bounced on a pothole and swung open. Timur, fighting through the pain, rolled out of the truck bed straight into a thick juniper thicket. He heard gunshots, heard the men's screams, but above it all rang the triumphant cry of the golden eagle. When the rangers and police arrived, called by Grandpa, who had grown worried by his grandson's long absence and the strange commotion echoing through the mountains, they found a pitiful sight. 3 armed men had locked themselves inside a vehicle, too terrified to even peek outside, and deep talon gouges scarred the SUV's roof. They found Timur quickly. He was shaken but unharmed. Looking up at the sky, he saw a lone silhouette circling in the rays of the setting sun. Akbar's made one farewell loop and vanished into the dusk. This story is a reminder to us all. We've grown accustomed to thinking of ourselves as masters of the planet and of animals as creatures without memory or feeling. But the kindness you show to the weak never disappears without a trace. It stays up there, in the heights, waiting to return to you at the very moment when all hope seems lost. Friends, do you believe animals are capable of such loyalty and such vengeance for those they love? Write in the comments, have you ever experienced a moment when nature surprised you with its humanity? If this story touched you, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Here, we share the incredible wonders of our world happening right around us. Until next time, see you at the summit.